What if I told you that a yellow cartoon family from Springfield could predict the future? Sounds ridiculous, right? But for over 30 years, The Simpsons has done exactly that. From presidential elections to world-changing technologies, bizarre scandals to freak accidents, this show has been eerily accurate about what's to come. So buckle up as we dive into 34 times The Simpsons looked into the crystal ball and saw our future. Yellow Square 1. Donald Trump becomes president. Season 11, Episode 17. Bart to the Future 2000. It's one of The Simpsons' most infamous predictions, and perhaps the one that shocked the world the most. In this episode, the show takes us into the future where Lisa Simpson has become the President of the United States. During a meeting in the Oval Office, she casually remarks, "We've inherited quite the budget crunch from President Trump." At the time, it was meant to be absurd, a satirical jab at Donald Trump, who was then known more for his wealth, real estate, and celebrity status than his political aspirations. But just 16 years later, what once seemed like a joke became reality when Trump won the 2016 election and took office as the 45th President of the United States. The writers didn't just pull this name out of a hat. They were referencing his previous attempt to run under the Reform Party. But still, the accuracy of the scene left fans stunned. After the election, The Simpsons didn't shy away from their prediction. In the episode Havana Wild Weekend, the chalkboard gag at the start reads, "Being right sucks." Even more surreal, when Trump announced he was running for president again in 2024, Simpsons producer Al Jean tweeted a screenshot of Lisa's line and simply said, "As predicted." What began as a punchline evolved into political prophecy. Yellow Square 2. Kamala Harris's purple pantsuit at the inauguration. Season 11, Episode 17. Bart to the Future 2000. This same futuristic episode didn't just stop at Trump. It also eerily foreshadowed another presidential detail decades in advance. When Lisa becomes president, she's shown wearing a purple pantsuit accented with a pearl necklace. This image would raise eyebrows at the time. Lisa always wears pearls, after all, but when Vice President Kamala Harris was sworn to office in 2021, viewers were stunned to see her wearing almost the exact same outfit, a royal purple pantsuit with classic white pearls. The color choice? Purple is symbolic, often associated with unity, blending red and blue. But the writers of The Simpsons never meant to create such a symbolic look. Longtime writer Mike Scully later revealed that it was just meant to be a powerful look, possibly inspired by Hillary Clinton's style at the time. The color was likely a random choice by the animators, he said. Still, the image of Lisa Simpson as president, dressed almost identically to the first female vice president in U.S. history, felt like more than coincidence. It was another reminder that The Simpsons often hits closer to reality than any of us expect. Yellow Square 3. Predicting Super Bowl winners. Season 3, Episode 14. Lisa the Greek, 1992. The writers of The Simpsons clearly know their football, or maybe they got access to a time machine. In Lisa the Greek, Lisa discovers that she has an uncanny ability to predict football outcomes. She helps Homer place bets and consistently wins. In the episode, Lisa predicts the Washington Redskins will win the Super Bowl. And just days later, that prediction came true at Super Bowl 26. But here's where it gets freaky. The showrunners decided to double with the team names for a rerun of the episode the following year, tailoring it to that season's Super Bowl matchup. Once again, Lisa predicted correctly. This time, the Dallas Cowboys would win. She was right. Again, they continued this pattern for several years, and the prediction accuracy held strong, even correctly guessing that the San Francisco 49ers would defeat the San Diego Chargers in Super Bowl 29. While the streak eventually wore off, the fact remains, The Simpsons predicted not one, not two, but multiple Super Bowl champions in advance, a feat that even Vegas odds makers can't consistently pull off. Whether it was psychic writing or incredible luck, Lisa Simpson was briefly the queen of football. Yellow Square 4. Disney buys 20th Century Fox. Season 10, Episode 5. When You Dish Upon a Star, 1998. In 1998, The Simpsons made a joke that no one could have imagined coming true, at least not for real. At the end of the celebrity-packed episode, When You Dish Upon a Star, we see a quick shot of the 20th Century Fox sign. but underneath in tiny letters it reads, "A division of Walt Disney Company." Now remember, at that time, Disney and Fox were competitors. Fox had a reputation for edgy, rebellious content. Disney was a family-friendly, squeaky clean empire. The idea that Mickey Mouse would ever be the boss of Bart Simpson was hilarious, or horrifying, depending on your point of view. Fast forward 20 years. In 2018, Disney completed a $71 billion acquisition of 21st Century Fox. Overnight, The Simpsons became Disney property. The House of Mouse now owned Homer, Marge, Bart, Lisa, and the rest of Springfield. The writers joked about it again years later with meta-gags about Disney+. But let's be honest, no one saw that merger coming, except The Simpsons. Again, Yellow Square 5, a real-life submarine disaster. Season 17, Episode 10, Homer's Paternity Coup, 2006. In this episode, Homer believes a man named Mason Fairbanks is his long-lost father. To bond, they embark on an undersea adventure in separate personal submarines, exploring the wreck of a ship named Piso Mojado. What starts as a fun, heartfelt journey quickly turns dangerous. Homer becomes trapped in coral, and as his oxygen levels drop, he loses consciousness. He wakes up 3 days later in a hospital, lucky to be alive. This storyline, while funny and dramatic in the show's usual tone, hit uncomfortably close to real-life tragedy in June 2023. The OceanGate submersible Titan, carrying 5 passengers to the Titanic wreck, went missing in the Atlantic Ocean. After days of tense international search efforts, it was confirmed that the vessel had imploded under the immense ocean pressure, killing everyone on board. Fans were quick to draw parallels to the Simpsons episode, especially the themes of private submersibles, deep-sea exploration, and the terrifying possibility of disaster beneath the waves. Once again, an old cartoon episode foreshadowed a tragic, real-world event in chilling detail. Hundreds of hours of jokes, satire, and social commentary, and yet, The Simpsons somehow managed to pierce through the fog of fiction and tap directly into the pulse of the real world. One might ask, how does a cartoon, one with yellow people, a perpetually drunk clown, and a baby who never ages, manage to be this accurate about the future? The truth might be less mystical than it seems, but no less impressive. On the surface, you could chalk it up to coincidence. After all, if you throw enough darts at a board, eventually you'll hit the bullseye. The Simpsons has been on the air since 1989. With that kind of longevity and a writing staff that has rotated over the decades, you're bound to stumble into some truths eventually. Predicting technology, cultural shifts, or political trends might seem random, until you remember that the show has had writers from Harvard, scientists, historians, and deeply well-read comedians working behind the scenes. Hundreds of hours of jokes, satire, and social commentary, and yet The Simpsons somehow managed to pierce through the fog of fiction and tap directly into the pulse of the real world. One might ask, how does a cartoon, one with yellow people, a perpetually drunk clown, and a baby who never ages, manage to be this accurate about the future? The truth might be less mystical than it seems, but no less impressive. On the surface, you could chalk it up to coincidence. After all, if you throw enough darts at a board, eventually you'll hit the bullseye. The Simpsons has been on the air since 1989. With that kind of longevity and a writing staff that has rotated over the decades, you're bound to stumble into some truths eventually. Predicting technology, cultural shifts, or political trends might seem random, until you remember that the show has had writers from Harvard, scientists, historians, and deeply well-read comedians working behind the scenes. These aren't just joke writers. These are people who spend their lives absorbing the world and spinning it into punchlines. In that process, they end up analyzing culture more closely than most news anchors or politicians ever could. But that's not the whole story. There's something unique about the way The Simpsons sees the world. The show has always operated from a place of heightened reality, a world exaggerated just enough to be funny, but grounded enough to feel real. That space in between allows the writers to comment on society in a way that hits both emotionally and intellectually. The show reflects our fears, our hopes, and our absurdities, and sometimes reality just catches up. Take the Trump presidency. Sure, it was a joke in 2000, but it was also a satire about the direction politics were heading, towards spectacle, towards celebrity, toward populism. What was once a punchline became a prophecy not because the Simpsons had psychic powers, but because the writers saw where society was heading before the rest of us did. Or look at their predictions about technology. Smartwatches, autocorrect, video calls, baby translators. They didn't invent those concepts. They just imagined what would happen if these things existed and how they'd affect everyday people. By focusing on storytelling instead of prediction, they ended up foreshadowing some of our biggest tech revolutions. Even the eerier, more tragic predictions, like the OceanGate submarine disaster or the Siegfried and Roy Tiger attack, don't necessarily prove foresight so much as they show how history tends to repeat itself. Humanity is drawn to risk, fame, and spectacle, and The Simpsons, being a mirror of our world, naturally reflects those repeating patterns. They exaggerated reality, and eventually, reality lived up to the exaggeration. Still, there's something undeniably eerie about the show's track record. Some of the predictions feel too specific, too surreal, to be explained away by probability alone. A purple pantsuit that matches Kamala Harris? The exact outcome of Super Bowls? A Disney acquisition of Fox nearly 20 years in advance? These are more than just coincidences. They're cultural echoes. It's almost as if The Simpsons doesn't just parody our world, it quietly shapes it. And maybe that's the real power of The Simpsons. It's not just that the show predicted the future, it's that it influenced it. Think about it. Generations of viewers have grown up watching the show. Politicians, scientists, and tech entrepreneurs were kids once. Kids who might have watched Homer bumble through space or Lisa lead the nation. What starts as a joke plants a seed. That seed becomes an idea. And that idea, over time, can become reality. This is why it's not just funny when The Simpsons gets it right. It's meaningful. It tells us something about how media works, how imagination shapes our world, and how art often blurs into life. If a cartoon can make fun of our society and still manage to predict its future, maybe that means the line between satire and prophecy is thinner than we think. So, what does this mean for us, the viewers? Should we start watching The Simpsons episodes as if they're Nostradamus scrolls? Probably not. But it's worth remembering that fiction has a funny way of telling the truth. Sometimes, the best way to understand what's coming isn't to look at the news, but to pay attention to the stories we tell, the jokes we laugh at, and the fears we try to laugh off.